All right, what's up guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, we've got some blue-black Usopp action to go over. That's right, we're going to be revisiting blue-black Usopp. I have covered this leader before, and I will try to link that. If I remember, I will link that down in the comment section below for you to check it out if you've not already seen that. But blue-black is one of those color combinations I'm a really big fan of in this game. And hey, we just got blue-black Usopp in OP10, so we're going to be checking that out again today. Now, without any further ado, let's hop straight into today's video. Let me lay it out for you real quick so you know what you're getting into. First things first, we're going to check out the deck list. After that, we're going to head over to the sim. We're going to look at 5 different games on the sim, and then we'll finish off by going back over the deck list and I'll give you guys my final thoughts going forward, and we'll wrap it up in that way. Okay? All right. So, as usual, guys, I'll have everything time-stamped in the general description, and I'll have all relevant deck lists and links down in the comments section below. Now, if you have any other comments, questions, or suggestions or something like that, or if I missed something, please do not hesitate to put that down in the comment section below, or hop on over to the VV Theory Discord. Link is in the channel description. This video is sponsored by Nin Garden. Their latest spring collection just dropped with 3 new designs, and to celebrate, they are running a spring sale. Buy one, get any classic mat 40% off with the code SPRINGSALE. Plus, use NIN10 for an automatic 10% off at the checkout. You can stack this with my promo code, the VV Theory, for an additional 5% off, bringing you to a total of 15% total savings on top of the 40% off. All right, let's go ahead and break down the deck list for today's video. First up, we're going to start off with the leader. Usopp is a 5,000 power 4-life blue-black leader with a straw hat and Dressrosa type. And the effect, he has 2 different effects here. I almost forgot to put my glasses on, guys. That was going to be very hard to read. Your cost 2 and greater Dressrosa type characters have +1 cost. Okay, and then on your opponent's turn, once per turn, this effect may be activated when one of your Dressrosa type characters are removed from the field by your opponent's effect or are KO'd. If you'd have 5 or less cards in hand, draw 1 card. Okay, so that is actually a very powerful effect there, because both of these effects are very powerful, because there are a lot of 4-cost cards we're going to look at in today's video, and in this deck, they're actually 5-cost cards because of the effect of what the leader does. So that's already a good thing, and 4-cost and 5-cost is really like a break point in this game when it comes to removal. Okay, but then the second effect on here is actually very strong as well. On your opponent's turn, once per turn, this effect may be activated when one of your Dressrosa type characters are removed from the field by your opponent's effect or are KO'd. So that means even in battle. Okay, and if you would have 5 or less cards in hand, you can draw a card. So in other words, anytime one of your characters, it does have to be a Dressrosa character. Anytime one of your Dressrosa type characters would be removed, you're going to draw a card. So even in battle, if you have 5 or less cards in hand, once per turn. So now we're going to run through the list. I've put together a list here today that's very basic. This is meant to be an absolutely basic list for you guys to be able to put together very easily. If you're trying to put together a blue-black Usopp deck, there's plenty of room for improvement, so please understand that right away, right up front here. There's going to be plenty of room for improvement, but this is meant to be a very basic list. And I think looking at it without checking any prices off the top of my head, this looks like it's probably going to be a pretty cheap deck to put together. And we'll talk about a few things as we get through. There's some other options we'll be able to consider as well as we're going through the list. So first up here, we're running 4 Cavendish. This is a new one from OP10. I am going to try to break down these cards for the newer players or the players who don't know what all the new cards do yet. This is a 4-cost, 6,000 power character that has when attacking, draw 2, trash 1. Then we have 4 Kairos. This is a 7-cost, 9,000 power character. On play, bounce a 5-cost or less to the owner's hand. Okay, so you can even bounce back your own cards to, be able to, potentially get an advantage in that way. Then you have 4 Sabo. This is a new 2K counter that can protect any original cost 7 or lower character. Notice what it says. If one of your characters other than Sabo with an original cost of 7 or lower would be removed from the board by your opponent's effect, you may instead return this character to your hand. So notice what's happening. Remember, we're buffing our own character's cost in this deck, and that's going to come into play in a minute. We're going to talk about with Rebecca. That's actually very, very important. Okay, well, this card says even if we have a 8-cost Kairos instead of it being just 7, getting +1 from the leader effect, we can still protect it with a card like Sabo. And it's a 2K counter, very strong card. For Leo, this is basically the new go-to searcher. We are still running 4 Rebecca, but these 4 Leos here are very important. It is a better searcher for what we're trying to do. It is a 1-cost, 2,000 power, 1K counter searcher that looks at the top 5 cards, takes 2 Dressrosa cards other than Leo, not named Leo, takes 2 Dressrosa cards from the 5, and then puts the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then you trash a card from your hand. That seems like it's a downside, but it's actually not, guys. Remember that idea when we get down here to Frankie, okay? So we trash 1 card, but we got to do a draw 2. It ends up being a draw 2, trash 1 from a top 5 search with Leo. Really, really strong card here. You do have to rest either your leader, a Dressrosa leader, or Dressrosa stage in order to do that effect. Next up is Rebecca. So this is kind of the new card that brings the entire deck together. It's a 7-cost, 4,000 power, 1K counter character with on play. If there's a cost 8 or greater character in play, draw 1 card. Then reveal up to 2 cost 7 or lower Dressrosa type characters other than Rebecca from your hand, and then play one of them as active. Then if the other has a cost of 4 or lower, play it as rested. Okay, so this is going to, remember, we get +1 cost by default for any 2 cost or greater Dressrosa character we have. Okay, so when we play this out for 7, as soon as it hits the field, before it even does its on-play effect, it will be counted as an 8-cost character. So it satisfies its own stipulation there by requiring an 8-cost or higher character on the field. So we'll be able to play this out on 7 on curve, and then draw a card with the effect, and then reveal 2 cards from our hand that cost 7 or lower that are Dressrosa, play a 7-cost from their active, and then play a 4-cost or lower rested, right? So that's going to be really nice. That's going to be this card is very strong, and you'll see it's a big part of how this deck functions. It gives us a lot of tempo. Okay, now we're going to go over, excuse me, some cards that we already know about. So we're running 4 Idio, 4 Bartolomeo, 2 Monkey D. Luffy, the 7-cost. This is from back in OP04 when we first got Dressrosa with Rebecca. Okay, 4 Rebecca, the Searcher, 4 2K counter, 1-legged toy soldier. Then we have some new cards here. We'll talk about these in a second. We are also running 4 of the Core of the Coliseum. It's the 1-cost stage, and again, this really brings the entire deck together because this card goes perfectly with what Leo's trying to do, so we don't have to rest down our leader, right? We can rest down the stage instead of our leader with an effect like Leo, and the same idea with this Zoro. This Zoro is a 4-cost, 6,000 power, Dressrosa Supernova Straw Hat character that has you may rest up to 1 of your Dressrosa type leaders or stages, and then KO up to 1 of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters, then place the top 2 cards of your deck into your trash. So it's filling up your trash. You do have to tap a stage or a leader that's Dressrosa type, but after that, you know, you're good to go. After that, you're going to be able to play this down and KO a 4 cost or lower character. Then we have one other new card to go over, and this is also a big part of how this deck functions. This card is a big part of the engine here. It is a 4-cost, 5,000 power, 1K counter blocker, Dressrosa Straw Hat type. So already very good, already very good. And then on KO, play up to 1 cost 3 or lower Dressrosa type character rested from your trash. So understand that this is part, there's a huge blocker package in this deck. We have the Idios here, we have the Bartolomeos, and we have the Frankie. Now, the Frankie allows us to get full value on the Idio and the Bartolomeo earlier in the game, right? We can counter out with these very effectively and very, you know, we can just do it whenever we want to, right? We can just counter out as much as we want to keep our hand size low for our leader's effect, and then we can actually bring them back later with a card like Frankie blocking out of an attack on KO, bringing a card back from the trash, and that will draw us a card if we have 5 cards or less in our hand, and then we're going to be able to pull out another card from the trash to put on the field. There are other options as well. This is not a color-restricted card. It says play up to 1 cost 3 or lower Dressrosa type character rested from your trash. So we can pull out Leo as well if we have if we have the leader or the stage to rest down. Because remember, the on KO effect will probably be on your opponent's turn, so you have to keep that in mind when you go to bring something back. But there's also the Rebecca Searcher we can pull out as well. We have a lot of very good targets. There are 12. Actually, there's really 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 different targets for Frankie in this deck, because you might want to pull back a 1-legged toy soldier in some situations to be able to hit something that's a 7 or less with something like this Zoro, or an 8 or less with something like this Kairos. It does open up a lot of possibilities. And whatever the case is, your opponent's probably going to try to attack into it, so you might want to save your blocker until the very end if you can help it. So good stuff there. That's the entire list, and there's not a whole lot going on here. I have run a list in the past. I will show that. that was a little bit more fine-tuned. The list we're looking at here is one that I came up with. This is like a version of the list that I ran earlier, where this used to be 2 Ice Ages, and this was 2 Surus right here. They dropped -1 Sabo, -1 Legged Toy Soldier for 2 Surus, and then they had 2 Ice Ages in here as well. I don't know exactly how they made that work. Let me see something. I didn't actually pay attention to as to what my list is running. Oh, in the place of the 2 7-cost Luffys, they're running what would have been the 2 Ice Ages. I prefer the 7-cost Luffy because it does let us fill our trash back up if we start. This deck draws a lot of cards, guys. So if we start running out of cards in our library, we can refill 7 at a time with this character's effect, and that is very powerful in the late game. And it lets us attack 2 different times in one turn potentially. So really good stuff here. But everything else, this is a pretty straightforward list. I do think there is some room for improvement, but I wanted to keep this really basic for today's video. One more thing I want to say is I think every card on here is relatively cheap for newer players. This is probably a very budget version of the list that we're looking at right now. I'm not sure what this card is off the top of my head. This might be the only semi-expensive card in the deck. I'll have to check afterwards, and I'll try to say something down in the comment section below if it's like insanely expensive and I didn't know it. But I will say this, you know what you can do if you don't want to run this card or if you don't have access to it and you have no way of getting it, just run 2 Halt Couture Patchworks in the place of this. It's a very, let me find it real quick. It is a, whoops, it's not a blue card, it's a black Dressrosa card. It's this one right here. It's the one I was, that I changed Ice Age over to this when Ice Age got banned. But this is a card, it's a Dressrosa card, so it is searchable, right? It is a 1-cost main. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -3 cost during this turn, just like Tempest Kick. Then up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0 will not be set as active during the next refresh phase, and then trigger draw 2 trash 1. So this is a great card to put into the deck, period. We might want to try to find a spot for this in the deck anyway. It's just a really good card. It has a really strong trigger to draw 2 trash 1. It can give -3 cost to a character, letting us hit like an 8 cost or a 7 cost with some of our removal. It can go a long way. And that can take the place of this Monkey D. Luffy if it's too expensive. Again, I don't know off the top of my head at the time you're recording this video how expensive this card is, but it's the only card I could imagine being on the more expensive side in this list. And otherwise, this list just looks insanely budget-friendly. I will say that. Okay. Now, let's do this, guys. Let's hop over to the sim and see what this deck can do. All right, so first game up, guys, we got against Blackbeard. The volume is off. Let's get the speed on 2x, and here we go. I did try to get some pretty decent matchups for us today, some more meta-relevant matchups, because I do think this leader is going to be pretty decent in the meta. So we're going to be going first here against Blackbeard. We played out a Rebecca early on, and we did not get the stage, which really hurts us. We're going to swing for 5 with Rebecca. We're going to swing for 5 with our leader. We're taking a card out of hand, a card out of life. They're going to swing for 5. We're going to take it. We took that aggressively. Well, actually, we only had a 2K and 1K in hand. I am desperately searching for this stage, guys. We might just not see it. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and play out the Cavendish here. We could have tried to KO. Actually, excuse me, did he turn our on-play effects off? He might have turned off our on-play effects. Then we cannot get rid of the Shiryu. So he's going to swing it for 6. We're going to 2K counter out. We took the 5K we countered out of as well. We had to trash our Rebecca just to do that, but Rebecca's not great in this matchup because they turn the on-play effects off. But that's okay. So right here, we're going to play out the Luffy. We cannot attack right away because we don't have the stage, unfortunately. Yeah, again, we're still looking for that stage, and not getting the stage really does hurt for this deck. Okay, so we're going to 2K count out of the 5. We'll take this 5 to draw that. We end up getting a 2K counter. We're not seeing any blockers or anything, guys. We're not seeing our Frankies. We're not seeing our stages. Okay, there's a Frankie. That might be enough to bail us out right here. We'll have to see what happens. It looks like we're going to swing for 9. Swing for 11. This is a 7K character. We're going to swing for 11 into 7. That card's gone. We're going to stand the card up. We only had 7 cards in trash, and then we get rid of the Shiryu. We're going to swing for 6. They block out. We're dropping a Cavendish, and we're hoping we're going to be able to cash in on that next turn. They're on their 10 Dawn turn. Okay, they did not have a 10 cost play, though. They're going to play out the stage. They're going to get some searching done. They play out a Burgess. And here we go. They turn off our leader effect. They're playing very well. We're going to do a draw 2 trash 1. Very nice. Now that we have Cavendish going, we're going to be able to cycle through our deck very effectively now. So good stuff there. Okay, they do end up getting one of my favorite cards, Shigan Finger Pistol. I feel like every time I play against Marshall D. Teach, they have at least one of them in their life. I mean, they have at least one of them in their life almost, inevitably, like every time. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and play out the Marshall D. Teach here. They're going to lock down my Luffy. I'm going to block with Frankie and draw a card from that, with my leaders. Oh, excuse me. No, I'm not, because he turned off my leader effect with the Marshall. Pause. So with Marshall D Teach here, he shut off my leader effect, which was a very, very smart play. Now, when I block out with my character Frankie and lose a character, I don't get to draw a card. So that was very well played by my opponent. Okay, so we're going to go for lethal, though. It's our only chance. So did they get a trigger or did they not? Okay, they did not get a trigger. So now we're going to swing for 8, and then we're going to swing for 9. It's going to be swing 7, swing 8, swing 9. They either had it or they didn't. That's the philosophy there. It probably would have been a little bit safer to swing for 8, 8, 8 because every hit has to go through. But no, then again, excuse me, he only had 7 cards in hand. Or, I mean, 1 card in hand. So he could not get out of a 7K attack, right? If they only have 1 card in hand and no Dawn open, it could be at most a 2K counter. So swinging for 7 means you have to give me something for that. Okay, so he decided to take it, which was the right call. He got a 1K counter, but he can only get out of a 7. Or excuse me, he can only get out of a... Yeah, he can only get out of a 7K now, and we're going to swing for 8 and swing for 9. Good game to my opponent. That was a close one. But hey, Usopp still getting the job done without the stage and without very much blockers and a lot of, cards in hand that were bricks. A lot of cards that were bricks in hand. Okay, next game. So that was the first one we had against Blue-Black Usopp. Or excuse me, against Blackbeard. And the next game we have against Red, Shanks, as Blue-Black Usopp, right? We got that a little bit mixed up. Okay, so speed is 2x, volume is off. Here we go. Let's see if... Okay, we got a much better pull this time, right? We have the Leo Searcher, and we see 2 stages in this search. Very nice. We're going to grab... It looks like... I kind of like the idea of getting the Zoro here in the stage. We'll trash the Idio, because we could bring that back later with our Frankie. And we end up getting the Searcher down, and now it's going to be our turn. We did go first this time. I don't know who won the dice roll, but I think typically we would want to go second with this deck so we can play out a Searcher and establish the stage right away and go from there. Okay, so we're going to swing for 6 here. Just waiting for our opponent. Looks like they're going to take it. Wow, they're going to go ahead and take that. They must have a pretty bricked hand right now, or they might have a different strategy in mind. We're going to play out the stage. We're going to play out Rebecca, do a top 3 search, get a 2K counter, and fill up our trash a little bit. They're going to play out a Lucky Roo. We're probably just going to pop this card, guys. I think that's the plan here. We're going to swing for 6 and just get rid of Lucky Roo. If he wants to get rid of my Zoro, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with him getting rid of Zoro if it means that Lucky Roo is off the board. Because, how do I say this? I need to keep my opponent's board as clear as possible. That's what Blue-Black usually, that's usually the game plan for Blue-Black, is you're trying to keep your opponent's board as clear as possible, and then you're trying to tempo out on them in that way. So as long as I'm getting rid of my opponent's board, we're doing just fine. They're going to swing in for 6 here. We are going to 2K counter out of this. We want to get our hand size a little bit lower. But again, I think we're going to get rid of this Lucky Roo, guys. We're going to say, hey, get that thing out of here. We're going to get that card out of here. Okay, so they're going to pass the turn back, and here we go. I have 7 Dawn to work with this time. I think we're just going to swing for 8 and rinse and repeat. So swing for 8. Does he want to block this? I doubt it. He's going to 1K. He's going to use the leader effect, and then maybe do a 2K 1K or a 2K 2K. Okay, 2K, and let's see what else, and a 1K. Now, we're just going to tap the stage using the Zoro, getting rid of the Lucky Roo. We're filling up our trash nicely now, and now we're passing on the turn, and we're filling up our trash really nicely here, which is very important, because it's going to allow us to actually, whenever we do get a hold of the 7-cost Luffy, we're going to be able to stand up and swing twice right away since we have the stage in play, if we need to do that. Sometimes that's a good play, sometimes it's not. Okay, they're going to play out a Rayleigh here. They're going to get rid of one of our characters. That's fine with us. And right here, this is where it would be nice to have that Haute Couture patchwork, because we could bounce the Rayleigh right back to their hand, and establish this Kairos. A 7 cost 9,000 power character is no joke. That's a big, big character on the board. So right here, they're going to get rid of my Cavendish. We're going to get to draw a card from it with our leader effect, and let's see what they choose to do. We do still have a blocker, and what we're, more than likely this turn, we're going to counter out of the leader attack and then block the Rayleigh, and then we're going to get to put out a Searcher here, tapping the stage. We'll grab a Rebecca. Looks like we're going to grab a 2K counter. I like that. We have to trash a card now. We'll trash the Cavendish in this situation. We have to kind of change the direction here. We have to change things up. Okay, that's fine. We'll swing two into that. If he wants to use his leader effect on that, he absolutely can. We will not stop stop him from doing that, right? We're going to swing in for 5. He uses his leader effect. We're going to play out the Kairos. We're going to play out the Frankie, and then we're going to return back the Leo. We're going to swing 12 into 8. Remember, we can swing right away with this card, guys. We can swing right away with it, and he wasted his leader effect on my leader. So who knows if he could? Maybe he could have gotten rid of this Kairos. Okay, well, he can get rid of it easily with the Ben Beckman plus 1-cost combo there, the Building Snake. We're going to 2K counter out of this. Let's see where he chooses to go with this. He's going to go at face here. We're going to have to take that. I don't want to counter out too aggressively here. I could have technically gotten out of that, but I don't think it would have been the right call in this situation. Okay, let's see what we're going to do here. We can bounce Ben Beckman back to hand, but is that the right play? I don't think it necessarily is the right play here. Okay, well, now that changes things. Now that we have the Rebecca, maybe swinging. Yeah, we're going to swing for 5. Let's see if he chooses. Okay, yep, here we go. We're going to play out the one-legged toy soldier. We're going to -3 to the Rayleigh this time, and we're going to play out the Kairos, and we might replace, yeah, we're going to replace the Leo with a 2K counter Sabo. Don't forget what Sabo does, guys. Don't forget what Sabo does. Sabo, okay, pause. A lot just happened there. As I was saying, don't forget what Sabo does. They they play out the Shanks, trying to get rid of my Kairos. However, that allowed us, the Sabo allowed us to save the Kairos. It sounds weird. Don't forget what Sabo does. Is that correct, guys? I'm starting to second guess. That just doesn't sound right. Anyway, Sabo saves the day here by protecting my Kairos from the Shanks effect. Now, what my opponent should have done in this situation was swing 5 into the Sabo. I'm gonna 1K counter out, by the way, when that happens. And then when they go to swing 7 into the Sabo, I'm gonna counter out of that as well, because it telegraphs what he's trying to do. Okay, I'm actually, in fact, I could even block with a Frankie. Like, I was going to be able to very aggressively save that card, but my opponent did make a play mistake there. We got the Sabo right back to our hand, and now let's see what they choose to do with their remaining 2 attacks for the turn. So they're still gonna be able to swing in with their leader for 5 and swing in with Beckman for 7. Okay, so they're doing this. Okay, watch this, guys. So they're trying to swing in for 7 so that I don't get full value from my on block effect. So we're gonna take that, and now we're just gonna 1K counter out of this one. That was a smart play, but we could have still played around that if we needed to. I would rather keep the board in this situation, though. That's the crazy part. I'd rather keep my board in this situation. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we choose to do here. We can bounce characters again and slow my opponent down. We have a blocker. We have 1 life. We have quite a bit of counter power in hand. Oh, very nice. Then we draw into a Monkey D. Luffy. We are going to snag that. Let's see what we end up doing with that. I don't know if this is the turn to do that or not. Okay, man, they're very quick to pull on that. I do not think they're using their leader effect correctly there, guys. You shouldn't just automatically use your leader effect on my leader just because I'm poking for 5, because it allows me to do the rest with my turn. So now I can swing 5, 5, 9, right? I swing 9 into the Beckman, and then I swing 5 into that, and now I'm just going to pass the turn. I'm gonna play out the Luffy and pass the turn. I have a blocker. I have a pretty good amount of counter power in hand. I have 2, 4, 6K counter in hand. I have a blocker. I have 1 life. I'm just not scared right now. I'm just not scared. And because I'm at 1 life and my opponent is at 1 life, I don't have to worry about Roger coming into play here and getting rid of me in that way. So they're going to have to play out a Monkey D. Luffy here. Let's see where they're going with this. Do they go for the board here? Nope, the answer is absolutely not. So right here, we're probably going to 2K, 1K to get out of this. We'll give him the one-legged toy soldier in the Idio. We'll give him a 2K to get out of this 6 here. He's going to swing in there. We're going to use leader effect first to draw a card, and he's just going to tap out. So the idea is at the end here, what we would do in this situation, let me at least explain how we were going to close this game out. They are completely tapped out, right, and they have a 6K leader. So what we're going to do in this situation is we're going to attach 1 Dawn to our leader to swing for 6. 1 Dawn to our Kairos to swing for 10, and then all of the remaining Dawn, 8 Dawn on our Monkey D. Luffy to swing for 15 twice at face, and that's going to be game. Good game to my opponent there. They were in a rough position. Blue-Black Usopp can kind of, once they get the ball rolling, it becomes a lot to deal with. It becomes very hard to deal with. Okay, so we went over the game versus Blackbeard. There's Red Shanks. Now we got a game versus Blue Doflamingo. This deck is very strong against Blue Doflamingo because, like I said earlier when we were talking about the deck list, remember, our 4-cost characters in this deck, which are some of our stronger characters, the 4-cost characters in this game are very, very, very strong usually. That's like I said earlier, it's like a break point between 4 and 5, but 4-cost characters are very strong. But Doflamingo can bounce them back to my hand. Well, not in this deck, right? If they're Dressrosa type, he can't bounce them back to my hand because of my leader's effect, making them a 5 cost. You know, I should say the Trafalgar Law cannot bounce them back to hand. Jozu can, and other effects can get around it if needed. So they're going to go ahead and swing in for 7 here, playing out the Weevil. They set all that up with the Perona, I believe. And now we're going to swing 6 into 6. We're just trying to get every single piece of... Okay, pause. A lot just happened there. Because we had earlier on Leo and the stage, now we can really start going fast here. Because what we were able to do... Guys, we actually have to go back to the beginning of this game. So real quick, what I want to mention is when you're given the position to either play out the stage first or the Leo, playing the Leo out first is the correct call there, unless you have some type of turn 2 play you're trying to get into. Because right here, I get to fix my hand early on, and I can't attack with my leader anyway. So I'm going to cash in on that now. Okay, now I'm on a 3-Dawn turn because I went first, so I get to swing for 5, play out this stage, and I'm just going to pass the turn. I was trying to see if he would counter out. I'm trying to get as many cards out of my opponent's hand as possible, and I'm also trying to keep my hand size low. Number 1 for my leader effect, and number 2 to play around pudding. Okay, now they're going to swing 7. Now we're caught back up. Now watch what we do. Watch what we choose to do here. We're going to swing 6 into the Edward Weevil. Then we're going to play out the Zorro, tapping the stage to KO one of their characters that costs 4 or less. We're going to choose the Teach, the Marshall D. Teach, and then we're going to swing 6 into the Edward Weevil. We're trying to whittle our opponent's hand down. I don't really want to attack into their life. Some people could argue that me attacking in for 5 last turn was probably a play mistake. Don't even give them any cards in hand. They'd have 1 less card in their hand right now. Okay, so here we go. We're going to swing for 6. They're going to give us a 1K. We're going to tap the stage, like I said, to pop the Marshall D. Teach, filling up our trash. And we're going to swing 6 more into Edward Weevil. They have to give us another counter. They're down to 5 cards in hand. They get up to 6 for drawing for the turn. So they're going to swing in for 6 here. We are going to 2K counter out. They're going to play out a Boa. They're going to set their top 3 cards. They're going to swing in for 7. They're going to play out the Gecko Moria, getting back a card from their trash. I think the card they got back from trash was the 2-cost Teach. Okay, well, we're going to play out the Rebecca here. Pause, a lot just happened there. We're going to play out the Rebecca, and now, look what happens. We're going to swing in. So playing out the Rebecca allowed us to play out 2 7-cost or lower characters that were Dressrosa type, right? A 7-cost and a 4-cost is what it allows you to do per Rebecca's effect. A 7-cost or lower and a 4-cost or lower. So we're just going to play out 2 4-cost characters, letting our Cavendish be the active one and the Zorro be the rested one, KOing their blocker Boa. Now we get to swing 5 into the Gecko Moria, and then we're going to have 2 6K attacks to follow up with here. Okay, here we go. They're going to let that one go. We're going to swing for 6 into 6 here, doing a draw 2 trash one. They give us a 1K counter. We're going to swing in for 6 more. And again, guys, his hand size is getting smaller and smaller, and our board is getting wider and wider. Okay, it's at that part of the video, guys, where the mustache starts going crazy. Okay, so they're going to follow up with a Grab Blade here, and since we got rid of the Marshall D. Teach earlier on, they're not going to be able to do the really high value play where they put 2 Dawn on their leader with the effect and set their top card and just cheat it out and then go from there. Okay, we aggressively counter out here, guys, because we're just trying to hang in there. We don't want to get down to 0 life so they can Perfume Theme us out of this game. We're not trying to let that happen. Okay, we're going to start off with a Leo search here. We're trying to fix our hand a little bit. We get a 7-cost and a 4-cost. We're going to trash the Rebecca with that effect. Now we're going to do our attacking for the turn. Let's see what they choose to do here. We're going to play out the Rebecca. We're going to go over the over one of the Leos here and over one of the go over both Leos here with the effects because we have to replace the cards on the board. We swing in for 8. We're going to swing in for 5. We're going to swing in for 6, and here we go. It is our opponent's turn, and our board is looking very strong. Those Rebeccas later in the game, the 7-cost Rebeccas, they're only 4K, but attaching 1 Dawn means your opponent has to answer that with 1 card from hand. So right here, they're gonna play out the Sengoku. They're gonna play out the Marshall D. Teach. They're gonna set the card on top that they want. They're gonna swing for exactly enough. I can't save that card, unfortunately, but that's okay. Not a big deal. They did get that out of the way, unfortunately, but hey, it is what it is. We're gonna swing 6 into 6. You see what we're doing, guys? We're saying, give me every single card from your hand. I want every single card from your hand. That was a draw 2 trash one. We're swinging in for 6 more. They're gonna let that one go. We're gonna swing in for 6 more. Actually, we're going to do a Leo search first to see what we can get. Okay, it looks like we have access to a Zorro, some 2K counters, and a blocker Frankie. We have a lot of really good options here. Probably going to grab the blocker and the Zorro. Let's see what happens. I might even trash the Zorro. I don't know if I actually want to use that here. Let's see. I have to trash a card from hand. Looks like I'm going to get rid of the Zorro. Yeah, we're going to get rid of the Zorro there, guys, because I need to keep as much counter power in hand as possible. Do not underestimate what Doffy can do. Doffy could just flip a switch in a heartbeat and just all of a sudden you're losing the game. He has 5 bodies on the board. If he splits up his Dawn, he's going to swing 5 times, or maybe it might only end up being 4 times. But the point is, I don't even want to mess around with that. So right here, we're going to replace the Leo with a Frankie, and I think we might swing for 6 more. Probably should not have done this in this order. If we were going to do that, we should have swung first, then played out the Frankie. That was a slight misplay there, missequencing. They're going to play out the Jozu. We're going to get to draw a card from that. Bouncing our Frankie back, we draw a card with our leader effect because we had 5 less cards in hand. They're going to swing in for 7. Again, guys, we're just going to counter out of everything. We're going to counter out of every single thing that we can here. 2K, 2K, or maybe 2K, 1K here to get out of that. And now maybe we do start going for lethal. There is some idea of that for us to start going for lethal now on the crackback. Just making sure. Yeah, we're on 2x speed. They're going to go 8 into 6. We're not letting him have that either. They can't swing with Jozu because they just played it this turn. Here's a 2K, 2K, and here we go. It's at this point right here that my opponent has basically, after using their blocker there, the game's probably just over, right? The game's pretty much just over at this point because we can swing for 5. That would get the last card. So pause. Let's just go over like calculated lethal. So if I swing for 5 with my, what's her name here? The Rebecca. That will get the final card out of their hand if it's a 1K. And then if I swing for 5 more with this Rebecca, it will go through no matter what. Swing for 7 with this Cavendish, it's going through no matter what. And then swing for 9 with our Zoro, and that's going to be game. Good game to my opponent. We had calculated lethal at the end there. That was a fun one. Okay, very good deck against Blue Doflamingo. All right, next up we have a game versus Yellow Eustass Kid. We got 2 more games left. We got Yellow Eustass Kid here, and then we have a game versus Green Yellow Law. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to start off with a Leo search, which is really nice. I think going first is fine with this deck, but I think we would prefer going second because we could have gone Leo plus the stage right here and just had more Dawn to work with next turn, going straight into a 4 Dawn play, developing something like a Cavendish or a Sabo, and go from there. Okay, so right here, I think we're just going to swing for 5. We're actually going to go very aggressive. I have tried this matchup before, and if the later this game goes on, I think the less it is in our favor, unless we can get enough tempo early on. So, watch. Did y'all see what we just did there? Hang on. Pause. I have 6 cards in my hand. They're going to swing 5 into 2, so I won't draw a card if this gets KO'd in battle for my leader's effect. Watch what we do here. We are going to 1K counter out just to go down to 5 cards in hand so we can draw a card, so we can cycle a card for the turn. That was the only reason for that. Okay, this card's got to go. We're going to swing for 5. He's going to cash in on the Basil Hawkins right away. We're fine with that. We're completely fine with it. We did lose a life card, but, you know, it happens. It is what it is. So right here, we're going to trash another life card. They're going to swing in for 5. We'll probably counter out of this with a 2K. We give him the Bartolomeo. We can potentially bring that back later with the Frankie. Okay, now we have Cavendish on the board. We can start generating a lot of advantage here. We are going to play out the Rebecca. We're going to play out the Luffy and the Sabo. Now, we're going to swing 7 into 7. This is going to force a card from my opponent's hand here. They're going to give me a 2K counter. Watch this. We're going to swing for... so I only had 6 cards in my trash, but after I swing for 6 with this, I'm going to get to do a draw 2, trash 1. And right here, we're going to swing in for 5. We are going to swing all the way out here first. And now we might stand up the Luffy. We choose not to. We choose not to stand up the Luffy. You know, it is what it is. We have a lot of counter power in hand. So if they want to commit their entire turn into KOing that Monkey D. Luffy by swinging into it very aggressively, we're actually okay with that. We're not too upset with that kind of play from our opponent. It was not the right play. They choose not to do it. They chose wisely. They're going to go ahead and develop their board a little more, playing out a 7-cost Trafalgar Law. A 7-cost 9K, by the way. That's a very big card. They're going to gain a life from that. They're going to attach 2 Dawn to their leader. They're going to swing 7 into 5. That's unfortunate. We're going to counter out, or we're going to let it go and then draw a card from that. They're going to swing 7 into face. Now I think we need to counter out of this, and we do. Okay, they make that card into a blocker, but I think right here we're probably just going to go for that card, right? Like that's the idea here. So right here, I think we're going to swing for 7 into that, draw 2, trash 1. Let's see, we choose to trash. We're going to trash an Idio. If he blocks with the Trafalgar Law here, I think it would be a good... I think he should have blocked with the Trafalgar Law, but now in this situation right here, this is very tempting for me, guys. This is a very tempting spot to be in because I could attach 4 Dawn to my Luffy and just clean this board up. We're going to go for 7 and see what he wants to do here. He lets it go. Okay, so we got a character off the board. That does change quite a bit. Watch this. We're going to swing 5 and then swing 5 because we've got a little bit of a trick for our opponent here. We'll swing 5. We swing 5. He's very smart, though. He's very, very smart. He chooses not to let me get away with this because I was going to play out the Rebecca, cheating out the Kairos and the Frankie, bouncing the blocker out of the way, and go for his Trafalgar Law. But they played very, very intelligently there, and now we're going to pass the turn back. However, look at my board. My board is becoming menacing. If I were the yellow Eustass Kid player here, I would start going for life. That is exactly the correct play. I'm going to counter out aggressively to the best of my ability, but I can't get out of this next attack. Okay, he's going to go for 15 into 7. I was actually breathing a sigh of relief right there, guys, because I'm only at 2 life. And look, and by the way, look at what his top life card is. He just revealed that to stand his 7-cost blocker Law is active, and he has a Eustass Kid on top of his life. So I am not in a very comfortable position here. We are going to swing for 5. We're going to swing for bare minimum. I want 1 response from my opponent with every single one of my attacks. That's all I need. In the case of Cavendish, we're going to swing for 7 because it works out that way. Okay, he's going to swing in there. Now we have a target to attack into. I'm a big fan of that. Now we are going to swing in for 6. He does take that. So we're going to swing in for 9 more. He uses one of the blockers here. And it looks like we might play this card out. It looks like we were just trying to find something to play. Okay, playing out a blocker. Very nice. So we end up playing out a blocker over the old Rebecca. It drew us a card as well. We have another. We replaced Rebecca with a Rebecca and developed a 3K blocker. They play out another Trafalgar Law. And remember, we know they have the 8-cost Eustass Kid in hand. I'm surprised they're not trying to play a little bit more aggressively here because they do have a Shirahoshi blocker. They can turn one of their other cards into a blocker this turn. I think they should have swung for 7, 9 and used their leader effect to pop whatever my last life card is whenever they get around to that potential. Okay, we do have 4 cards in hand and 2 blockers, so when we do go to block out here, we will get to draw a card. Let's see what they choose to do. Oh, 6 into 8. So we are going to block out and draw a card there. Then they go 9 into 6. We're going to block again, bring back the blocker we just used. That is an incredible value engine in this deck, guys. They're going to flip the top card up again and turn into a blocker. And here we go. We can start getting pretty aggressive now. We're going to go, we actually have a target to go into on the board, and we're loving every minute of that, okay? They're going to give us a 2K counter. They should have given us Shirahoshi, in my personal opinion, because they have to see what we're trying to do here. We're actually trying to whittle them down, get cards out of their hand. Block with a, okay, not blocking with Trafalgar Law. Very interesting. Let's see what happens here. So now in this situation here, I'm going to be able to go for their board pretty aggressively. I'm going to attach 3 Dawn to my Luffy here. I'm going to go 10 into 9. He has to give me a 2K or a blocker. He does. I'm going to stand up the Luffy, getting some. I'm just pushing cards back that are not cards I can get back with my Frankie. I'm going to swing 10 more. Let's see if he has a 2K or a 1K, 1K. He does not. Remember, we know one of his cards in his hand is a brick. It is the 8-cost Eustass Kid. We'll swing in for 6, drawing some cards there, trashing 1. We're fixing our hand. We have 2 life. We have a blocker. Our hand is stacked. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9K counter in hand. Okay, so we're looking very good here. They're going to have to try to go for lethal. I'm going to 1K counter out of that. And now I get to block and draw a card. So you see what's going on here. We're trying to map out our turn properly. I think we should 2K, 1K out of this, and then we'll block the Trafalgar Law. They have 5 Dawn left. Were they saving this for maybe a Nami? Nope, they had a Zoro in hand. Very nice. So they're going to swing in for 7 here into a Cavendish. We're not letting him have that. And then whatever they swing into, we're going to block and draw a card. And that's pretty much game at this point. They will be able to stand something up and turn into a blocker. But at this point right here, guys, okay, pause. They do leave a little bit early, but it was over. So we swing in for 5. Again, I'm just going to do face checks here because I can play double blocker this turn. So it's going to be swing for 5 with Rebecca. It's going to be swing for 6 with Cavendish, maybe 7 if I have enough. And then I think I can swing for 7 more. No, it's probably swing 5, swing 6, swing 7 is what I can swing with here. And then swing 9, and then I'll go for the... In fact, I don't have to swing for their face here. I can swing 4 into that Luffy, see if he wants to use the blocker there, and then I can swing 5 into this Zoro. Again, I'm just trying to tax cards out of their hand or off the board, and then I can just play out double blocker after this, still have 2 life and 2 blockers on the board. I had a lot of options there. We were in a very good spot, and they kind of tap out a little bit early there, but the game was over. The writing was on the wall. All right, we got one more game. We got a game versus Green-Yellow Law, okay? I do love going against Green-Yellow Law to see what people are doing, to see if anyone has any kind of spicy tech going on, you know, some cool stuff going on, because this is one of my favorite leaders, Green-Yellow Law is. All right, we're going to start off turn 1 with a Leo doing a top 2 search, or top 5 search, getting 2 cards, trashing a card from hand. We're going to trash a Corda Coliseum because we already have another one in our hand. We're going to start off by swinging for 5. Let's see what they choose to do. They 1K counter out. We're going to play out the stage. We're going to play out the Leo, tapping down the stage. And we're going to do a top search here. We're going to grab 2 cards, the Kairos and the Cavendish. And we're going to trash the Idio. Idio is one of those cards I don't ever care about using that card early on, whether I'm using it as counter power or trashing it with my effect from Leo, because I can always get that back later with Frankie and have a 2-cost blocker. So it's a very high utility card in this deck. It's a good card to pitch at any time or to trash at any time. Okay, so they're going to set up their top life card with the Joey Bonnie there. I did have some, I mean, I wish I could. I was going to say I had some idea to pop their card there, but actually we couldn't because we only had 3 Dawn. Never mind. So it would have been nice to be able to pop their Caramel to slow them down, but we literally couldn't do it because we only had 3 Dawn. Okay, so now we are going to be able to probably go for this board a little bit here. We're going to swing 6 into 5. He'll probably counter out with a 2K or block in 1K. If he blocked in 1K here, it would have been the best case scenario. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to play out the Cavendish, trashing that card, and passing the turn back. We could have played out we played out the Zoro, excuse me. We played out the Zoro to get rid of the Zoro. And what we could have done is played out the Cavendish and swung into the Zoro for 6 and did a draw 2 trash 1. But I'd rather not risk losing that card this early on. I'd rather have a few more answers in my hand before I throw out Cavendish. Okay, now they threw out a 5-cost green Cavendish of their own here. They're going to swing for 7. We are going to take that. We don't have any blockers on the board, and we didn't have the greatest amount of counter power in hand. We're going to swing in for 5 here. They're going to counter out. We're going to swing in for 6. I'm hoping that they block it. Notice my cursor. I'm going crazy over there. I'm really hoping they block with your Trafalgar Law, because then I get to swing in immediately with the Cavendish. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, very nice. Or, excuse me, not with Cavendish, with Kairos, because I'm on 7 Dawn. We bounce the Cavendish out of the way. We swing 9 into 6, and that was a devastating play for our opponent there, guys. So, again, instant replay, guys. Instant replay. We're swinging for 6K into life. The right call probably would have been to take this, by the way. Hey, if the green-yellow Law player is listening to this, I would have just gladly taken this and gone up hand size, because you still have 3 life. I actually have less life than the green-yellow Law player, and that doesn't help them if they're playing the Zoro card. They want to have lower life than we do, so they can swing in right away with Zoro. So taking this would have been a good call. However, watch what happens here. They block and give us a 1K. Let me hit play. There we go. Yep, it's good. And now we're going to really punish them, playing out the Kairos, bouncing the Cavendish back to hand. We have the stage down, so we're swinging 9 into 6. That is a rough spot. And remember, if they don't have a character rested on the field, we can't attack with our characters because of the stage. The stage can only attack into characters on the turn in which characters are played. It's like Rush. It's like pseudo Rush, but only into characters. So if a character is active, it's not a legal target. Okay, they are going to go ahead and play out the carrot. They cannot target my 7-cost Kairos, because Kairos is technically 8 cost on the board right now for my leader's effect. They're going to swing 5 into us. We are going to start countering out. We don't want to take any more extra hits here. Now, I will say this. That Cavendish is annoying on the board. I would like to get rid of that card. I would really like to get rid of that 5-cost Cavendish, but we just don't have the... We don't have the... We can't. There's no way for us to do it. So what are we going to do here? We're probably going to swing in as much as we can. We're going to attack, probably play out a blocker here and pass the turn. Probably Cavendish plus blocker here and pass the turn. So swing 5, swing 9, and then, like I said, the develop the board. Okay. Looks like I forgot to attack with Kairos here. Or maybe I'm just trying to leave them on 1. I might have actually done that on purpose to leave them on 1 card in hand. There was definitely an idea there, like, oh, you have 1 card in hand? Sure. So now, even if you play out a Eustass Captain Kidd, well, okay, I was thinking about the 8-cost Eustass Captain Kidd, the green one, not the yellow one, but I was thinking, okay, if you play out the Eustass Captain Kidd, the green one, I'll just smash into it because you have 1 card in hand. But in this situation here, they're going to remove my last life. Okay, they're going to swing 5 into 2. We're going to draw a card from that effect with our leader. And now what are they going to do? That Eustass Captain Kidd is sideways. We can swing 9 into it, no problem here. They're going to swing for 8 into face, it looks like. We're going to go ahead and block out. Let's see what they choose to do here. I could potentially 2K counter out of this, but no, we'll go ahead and block, it looks like. We do not get to draw a card from that. We've already drawn for the turn from the effect, so they're going to swing in for 8 more. And I'm thinking I should counter out. That's just me. I think we should counter out here. Let's not go down to 0 life. That's too dangerous. We don't even have a single blocker in our hand or on the board or anything. So they get to use their Eustass Captain Kidd at the end of their turn there to cycle everything out. And now we are going to go for this board. I'm going to swing 6 into 6, draw 2, trash 1, trashing the Court of Coliseum. And here we go. We're about to clean this board up, guys. We are about to clean this board up. Watch this. Okay, it didn't matter what he countered out of. We were going to be able to get rid of everything. So right here, we need to attach a Dawn to the leader. Yep. attach a Dawn to the leader. We're going to swing 6 and a 6. That card's gone. Now we're going to play out a card for the turn. I like playing out this Cavendish. We're going to swing 6 into this, and then... And guys, we're just searching for a blocker right now. We're just trying to get a blocker. We're going to play out the Leo. Okay, nice. We finally get to a blocker and a 2K. So what we're probably going to do here is actually trash the Rebecca, the other, and establish the Frankie. The Luffy's too important in this situation. The Luffy is just too important. Well, now they're in a rough spot. This is not the spot you ever want to be in, where your opponent has 5 characters on the board and 4 cards in hand, and you have 1 character on the board and 1 card in hand. This is not the position you want to be in, and Usopp is very good at going for the board and getting in this position. Okay, let's see what they choose to do here. Our opponent's just trying to run through any possible play lines they have with this last card in hand. They might just be thinking about tapping out right now, too. The right call is just to attack in. We are going to 2K, 1K out of this, or 2K, 2K, because that's all I have, because he's going to be able to swing for 10 with his leader now. We're going to block. It doesn't matter where he swings, we're going to block, to be honest with you, unless he went for a Cavendish, maybe. Maybe we would take it then. All right, we get to draw a card with our leader effect. We get to play out another blocker with the Frankie's effect, and this is just... bad news bears for our opponent right here. We're going to go for lethal now. We're going to draw 2 trash, swing for 7 with Cavendish, draw 2 trash 1, swing for 7 with Cavendish. This would take both cards from hand. Let's see, he'll probably, I think he does counter out of this if I remember correctly. We just drew 4 cards and trash 2. We're going to swing for 5 because he has no cards in hand. Swing for 7, swing for 9. Good game. Complete math win here. There's nothing they can do. Oh, very spicy. They're running Shanks in their list. Very cool. All right, so let's go ahead and close out this this video, guys, with the deck list. We'll talk about it one more time. Very fun deck to play. It really is. I feel like this is going to be a very rewarding list to run for the more skilled players, because you have ways to flood the board with Rebecca. You have ways to get cards out of your trash with Frankie. You have triggers to remember. You have ways to protect your own characters on the board. You have tons of ways to draw cards. Cycling through your deck with Leo, Rebecca, the leader effect, the Cavendish. So it's got card draw. It's got removal on cards like Kairos and Zoro, and even Luffy is technically, it's pretty much removal in this list. There's a lot of, and also, guys, if you're a deck builder, there's a lot of wiggle room in this list. One card that I would really like to add to the list is probably going to be Gum Gum Red Rock. And I think the way that I would deal with that is I think I might go -1 Kairos and then -1 Rebecca to go +2 Red Rock, at least to start. That's where my mind's at currently, to at least start off revising this list and making it a little bit stronger and a little bit more fine-tuned, is going up 2 Red Rocks. Another card you might want to really consider, I don't know if we have enough room in the deck for it, is the 4-cost Charlotte Pudding. This is just one of those high-impact cards. I feel like this card can just win the game sometimes into certain matchups. Like if your opponent is not expecting this card, and you guys are going into the late game, and your opponent has like 8 or 9 cards, you have 8 or 9 cards, and things are just going in that direction, okay, you slam down 1 Charlotte Pudding, and you just ruin their entire game plan. This is a very, very strong card, a very high-impact card. It's definitely worth considering. What else? I'm trying to think of anything else we might be able to want to include into the deck. And if we were to try to include this into the deck, I think we can actually go down -1 Idio and maybe -1 more Rebecca. Maybe. I don't know. It's a tough call. Let me just put 1 in for now, just so we have it in our mind. We'll put this in here so we're thinking about it. But this is kind of the direction I would move with the list if I were trying to fine-tune it and refine it a little bit more and make it more like tournament ready and having more answers available to it. Red Rock is just a good card. You can try to run Haute Couture Patchwork here. This is a card I think I mentioned earlier in the video. Whoops, hang on. Let me go to the black cards. Haute Couture Patchwork is right here. There is some idea to try to run this. It's just a 1-cost -3, and the triggers draw 2 trash 1. It's just, if you're trying to get rid of bigger targets, even if you have Haute Couture Patchwork in your hand and a Kairos, for 8 Dawn, you can only get rid of an 8-cost character. I'd rather just use 6 Dawn, get rid of their get rid of the biggest character in the game, whatever it might be, and then I can still play out a 4-cost blocker like Frankie. You see what I mean? I do think running the 2 Gum Gum Red Rocks would be the way to go if you're trying to get more removal into your deck, but I do understand having the Haute Couture Patchwork. This does help you out more in the early game. The early and mid game, I'd say. In the late game, it's not quite as good. Another card to consider, this is a new OP10 card called Gum Gum Rhino Schneider. It is a 1-cost event main. Give up to 1 of your Dressrosa type characters plus 2,000 power during this turn, and then if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, that character gains Banish for the turn. So this is one of those cards, and the trigger, draw 2 trash 1. This is another one of those like Dressrosa specific kind of cards where if you have a certain amount of cards in your trash, you can give an extra buff to your character. If you're giving this to a card like Luffy, you're going to be able to make him attack into your opponent's life twice, and it will have banish. That's for the whole turn, guys. If you activate this effect, he'll have banish for the rest of the turn. So if you attack for, let's just say if you use this on the Luffy, that's a 1 cost, turning him into a 9k attacker. You can attack for 9 with banish, stand him up with his effect, swing 9 more with banish. With that in mind, there is probably another idea a lot of people are thinking about right now. There is a 3-cost event that you can combo with this and just kind of go for an OTK style deck with Gum Gum King Kong Gun. This is a 3-cost activate main, or main event here. That sounds weird. The main event. No, but this is a 3-cost event main. Choose one Dressrosa type character with a power of 6,000. Choose one Dressrosa type character. They get plus 6,000 power for the turn. And then if you have 15 or more cards in your trash, it gains double attack as well. So there's an idea of, with like a 4 Dawn investment, you can go plus, and you have to have 15 cards or less. 15 cards or more in your trash for the Gum Gum King Kong Gun. But for the Rhino Schneider card, you only need 10 cards in your trash. But let's say you have 15 cards in your trash with this effect here. You can go plus 6 from this, and then plus 2 from the Rhino Schneider. That's plus 8. So 8,000 plus 7, you're swinging for 15k with double attack with banish twice. So there is an idea you can try to do something like that. One other card I want to mention is in case we'll have to see which direction the meta starts trending, but if things start trending into more of a go wide strategy, we can also consider Liberation. This is a 6-cost event main. If you have 2 or more characters less than your opponent, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with an original cost of 6 or less and an original cost of 4 or less. So you can pop a 6 or less and a 4 or less if you have 2 or more less characters than your opponent, however you say that. Just something to think about. All right, I'm done yapping, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. This leader is an absolute blast to play. Make sure you give this a try if you have not tried it already. Okay, now let's get to the outro. Again, thank you to everybody who makes it this far into the video. This is, I know my videos can run long, so I do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who supports me, whether you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing, using my TCG player affiliate link, whether you're supporting me on Patreon, PayPal, or donations, the Playmat supporters, YouTube members, Discord community, anyone who's helped me in any way, shape, or form. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. All right, I'm done. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.